quarterback headlining 3 potential surprise cuts for the Packers ahead of the 2024 season. As the Green Bay Packers continue to refine their roster, the team's focus on building for the future has led them to make tough decisions, particularly when it comes to balancing veteran presence with the development of younger talent. This strategic approach is crucial as General Manager Brian Gutekunst prepares to trim the roster from 90 to 53 players by next Tuesday. With the team's current roster-building phase in mind, some surprising cuts could be on the horizon. Here, we delve into 3 players who, despite being expected to make the initial 53-man roster, could find themselves unexpectedly released as the Packers finalize their team for the upcoming season. Sean Clifford. Currently holding the QB2 spot, Sean Clifford's position as the immediate backup quarterback seems secure, but recent history suggests that his status may not be as certain as it appears. While it's uncommon for a team to cut its primary backup quarterback right before the season begins, it's not without precedent. In 2013, the Packers made the surprising decision to cut all 3 of their backup quarterbacks, Graham Harrell, Vince Young, and B.J. Coleman, after training camp, opting instead to sign Seneca Wallace to the 53-man roster and Scott Tolzien to the practice squad. Clifford, who has struggled during training camp and the preseason, might face a similar fate. Despite his current role, his performance hasn't lived up to expectations, especially considering the skepticism surrounding him during the pre-draft process. It's conceivable that the Packers could decide to keep 7th-round rookie Michael Pratt on the active roster instead, planning to bring Clifford back to the practice squad after the initial roster cuts. This scenario would align more closely with Clifford's performance thus far and the Packers' need for a more reliable backup option. Eric Wilson has been a key contributor on special teams since joining the Packers during the 2022 season. His role has been significant enough that he was even the 3rd off-ball linebacker on the field during the Packers' base defense in training camp this year. Given his experience and contributions, Wilson is widely expected to secure a spot on the final roster. However, the emergence of Christian Welch during the preseason, particularly in his standout performance against the Denver Broncos, complicates Wilson's situation. Both players offer similar value to the team as core special teamers and depth linebackers. The key difference is that Welch, being 3 years younger, has a higher ceiling at this point in his career. While the Packers could choose to keep both players, it seems unlikely given the overlap in their roles. If it comes down to a close competition, Welch's youth and potential could give him the edge, making Wilson a surprise cut despite his previous contributions. A.J. Dillon. At first glance, A.J. Dillon's roster spot appeared secure, especially after he was held out of the Packers' preseason game against the Broncos, a sign that typically indicates a player's spot on the team is not in jeopardy. However, his underwhelming performance in the earlier preseason game against the Cleveland Browns raised some concerns. While head coach Matt LaFleur attributed Dillon's struggles to poor run blocking, other running backs facing similar conditions were notably more effective. Currently dealing with a stinger, an injury he also struggled with last season, Dillon's future with the Packers is uncertain. The team may opt to place him on injured reserve to allow for a careful recovery, or they might give him one more season to prove his worth. However, based on his recent performances, it's difficult to argue that Dillon is among the 53 best players on the Packers roster. With Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, and Marshawn Lloyd emerging as the top 3 backs, Dillon's place on the team is far from guaranteed. His situation will be one to watch as the Packers finalize their roster decisions.